one of them being TikTok down here. So if you guys see me looking down like this, it's because I'm on TikTok, looking at people. And if I'm looking up like this, it's YouTube and Facebook, because I'm streaming them. Hi, Shelby Boo. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing quite fantastic. I just sent my mom Christmas presents, so she'll get them on the 20th. I don't personally celebrate Christmas. That's something that I've seen for what it is. And so personally, I no longer celebrate. So there are 0 decorations in my house. There's no music playing. There's no, like when I was out the other day with a friend, they put Christmas carols on the radio, and that's the only Christmas songs that I've heard thus far. And so the way that I do this is as I awaken to the truth and I see all the illusions and lies that have been put in society. And right now, Christmas, although it has some underpinnings that are very nice, it's supposed to be generosity and it's supposed to be this season of giving. But it's turned into, what am I going to get? And it's really just a commercial holiday now. The story of Yeshua doesn't even align with that in any way. They've, doctored that story and made it so that they can commercialize it in the end. But anyway, I honor my way. But I also, because when you're somebody that steps out of those traditional things, right, and you're no longer celebrating all of the, the stuff that's inverted things, and you start celebrating it the way that it's meant to be celebrated, or you stop celebrating because it's not meant to be celebrated at all. The way that I do it is when it's my close family, like my mom. My mom celebrates Christmas. So if I'm with my mom, I will celebrate Christmas. I will do what my mom is doing. So my mom gives me Christmas presents, so I send my mom Christmas presents. And I still send my grandsons Christmas presents because, they're little kids and it's just an opportunity for me to give them a gift. That's all it is. And so I send it at Christmas time, so it falls in line with them expecting a gift from grandma at Christmas, even though I would just send it anytime. And in fact, it arrived already and they don't have to wait until Christmas to have it. They can just have it. So that's the way that I do it. I just tend to relate to the things the way that the person that I care about relates to it. So I do it as a reflection. But I don't go against anything, too far. Like, yeah, I will give my mom a present, but, I'm not, in order to, appease my mom, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of other things. Like, I'm just, you give me gifts, I give you gifts. That's, it's reciprocal. My Christmas, I'm planning on being quite introspective. It will be a Christmas that I'm spending alone. I just moved to Alberta from Ontario. I do have friends here. But at Christmas time, people are usually with their families. And for those of us that don't fully celebrate it, it puts us in that just weird space of it's just another day. And so anyway, on Christmas Day, I will probably just be being very introspective and, just have a fun day. Maybe do some painting, maybe do some singing. I don't know. Depends on the weather. Take my dog for a nice long walk. Who knows? All right. So we're going to talk today again about Krystic astrology. I singed my hair yesterday. I have a gas stove and I leaned forward, and normally I have my hair up in some way, but I leaned forward to look at in the pot so if I'm playing with my hair because of that, because it just, you know how it is. I have to trim it now or something. I have to get it out. So we're going to talk about Krystic astrology or true sidereal is what the form of astrology is that you may be familiar with. True sidereal is the living sky. The tropical astrology, traditional astrology, mainstream astrology, modern astrology, whatever you want to call what you see in the newspaper and what most people are talking about, they are looking at it through the lens of traditional astrology, which froze the celestial bodies about 2,000 years ago and has been going on the same calendar ever since. And it is a calendar set that on the 20th or 21st of March, that begins Aries season. And, we're ending in Pisces season, and there's 12 signs, one per month. For true sidereal, it considers where the planets actually are in the sky. So it's the living sky. And it also incorporates the 13th sign. There's a distinguishing factor with true sidereal versus sidereal. Like there is that little bit of a distinguishing factor. There's many different ways that we, or many different astrological forms out there. You have to find the one that aligns with you. With me, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be looking at the sky as it is. Like back in, the original times, we wouldn't have been like, okay, if we froze them stars thousands of years ago, what would we be sitting at right now? And how should we harness that energy? Like, what should we do about that? No, it was, what is the sky saying to us, right? What is the influence of these celestial bodies? And that's what we're supposed to be doing. And, the individuals that are harnessing the energy of astrology, they are not using what mainstream is using, right? And most of the millionaires, billionaires, all of that stuff, they pay attention to astrology. They do that. They pay attention to that. They've looked at their charts. They were probably, in a lot of ways, born on a specific date and time for a reason, right? To capture that energy. All those theories. All right, so we're going to look at the current sky. We'll talk a little bit about everything else. I just want to confirm, because I know there's a move today, or there was a... Oh yeah, it's bitterly cold here today, and we're getting a blizzard. It's been snowing all day. We're supposed to get anywhere between 15 and 30 centimeters, and it's minus 22 plus wind chill. So very cold, very blizzardy. And let me see, what is our wind chill sitting at? It feels like minus 39, guys. Feels like minus 39 and a blizzard. Welcome to Alberta. So before we get into that, let me talk once more about my nonprofit, which is Hugs for Homeless. What we do is we receive donations, we take those donations and we build backpacks that are full of essentials, including a blanket, water bottle, electrolytes, socks, a hat, mittens, hygiene products, and stuff like that. So we collect the donations, build the backpacks, and then we distribute them out into communities. And days like today really, really bring home why I do what I do, why I have Hugs for Homeless as a nonprofit. So if you have anything to give at all, amazing, awesome, please go check out hugsforhomeless.com. Any amount helps, right? Imagine if you had nothing, right? How much would be a help to you? Would you be just waiting for the millions, or would you be like, yes, sir, I'll take 20, I'll take 100, I'll take 10, I'll take whatever. It all is money, just, right? So anyway, and no amount is too small. And we are looking for volunteers in different areas, specifically if you're someone that's really good at researching grants and grant applications, or you're someone that's good with social media, creating content, things like that. We are looking for other volunteers as well. But if you want to volunteer, just check out hugsforhomeless.com and see what's there, which I have to update. I do. You wear many hats. You wear many hats. Okay, so let's talk about what the planets are doing today. So this is the living sky that we're looking at. The sun is in the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, which was removed from mainstream astrology. And Ophiuchus is the sign of resurrection. It's not death, it's what comes after. The moon, that's what I was doing. Sorry, I had to take that little stop to check and see that it's minus 39 out. I opened the door for Cass several times. He's refusing. He's upset about it. He wants to go in his mind. He knows he should. But when I open the door, he's like, yeah, I'd rather not. He's like, thank you. Come again. Can you close it and open it when it's better weather? Like, just keep doing it until you find something better. So the moon moves into is in Scorpio now because we're doing our live in the afternoon, but it was in Scorpio this morning. And again, like I said, moved into Libra. So we have the moon in Scorpio. We also have Mercury in Scorpio. Venus is still in Ophiuchus until the 21st of December, later in the day. Mars is in Sagittarius. I was just thinking that the sun in Ophiuchus ends today. Tomorrow morning when we wake up, we will wake up to Sagittarius. The sun will now be in Sagittarius, so it is officially Sagittarius season. So if you're having a baby and you didn't have it yet, but you're ready, really close, really, really close, it's going to be Sagittarius because that's what we've entered with the sun. And it'll be in Sagittarius for, I'm not quite sure exactly how long, almost a month though. I do love a warm tea. Okay, so we've got Mars in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Aquarius, Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto in Capricorn. So that's the lineup of the sky right now. We are also 2 days away from a new moon in Sagittarius. We are 4 days away from solstice, where we have the longest night of the year. And there's a lot of powerful energy that's happening right now. So stick around if you want to hear about that, because I'm going to go through what the next few days are going to represent. And that's what the focus of the lives is going to be beyond, is reading the skies up until that point and what this energy represents. And this is the true living sky as it is, not some set sky from 2,000 years ago. It's what's happening right now. And this is the best way for us to harness the sky. We should be looking at it from the truth. So today's moon enters into Scorpio, which is deepening the waters of remembrance. We move from the surface, right? From that surface into the soul, from balance, where we're looking at balancing our relationships, right? Libra is about harmony and balance. So when we move into Scorpio, Scorpio is about depth. So it wants to go into, instead of observing the things around, it wants to go into the depths so that it can do revelation. It can find the truth. It can reveal the mysteries. So the sun is in Ophiuchus and the moon is in Scorpio, and this creates a powerful energy between the two. This is the sacred corridor of transfiguration, because this is the true alchemy. You have death without loss and transformation without distortion, because Scorpio's, it's about the truth. Scorpio is death and rebirth. Right. And they've incorporated the rebirth into it more, which is more in Ophiuchus, right? Ophiuchus is that resurrection energy. So the inner serpent coils, the codes awaken, and the DNA remembers. Mercury in Scorpio means that our perception is really sharp right now. Our silence is going to be a sacred tool at this time, because words are instruments of truth. So we're going to want to make sure we're speaking what we want to speak when we want to speak it, and we're not saying things because the truth can cut, and we have to be careful how we're doing it, right? You're meant to package the compassion or the kindness or the understanding while still being firm with the truth. The truth is unwavering. It doesn't need to yell. It doesn't need to bully. It doesn't need to manipulate. It doesn't need to do any of those things. It can be quiet. It can whisper. It's just that it's steady, consistent, non-changing. It's the truth. That's very grounded energy. Venus in Ophiuchus, so Venus governs, it's the feminine energy, but it governs that your desires and your relationships and your attraction. So with Venus in Ophiuchus, this is expanding that inner womb fire. So it's a powerful day to look at ancestral healing, doing some womb clearing or root transmutation. Right? We want to be doing we're meant to be transmuting and clearing the energy so that we can be standing in our alignment, standing in our core frequency that isn't being manipulated by all kinds of things. Caffeine's one. I drink organic black tea. But caffeine still, you're manipulating your energy. The EMS, the radiations, all of that is also affecting our energy, affecting our frequency. So we need to be clearing these energies. Hi, how are you? I don't know if you whipped on by, but if you didn't, hello, 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 hello. My goodness, how are you? So Mars in Sagittarius guides the flame of vision. So this is the bow being pulled tight. We don't just act, we aim, and we aim with truth, and we fire with certainty. Like that's what the arrow of Sagittarius brings. So we have I have a suggested practice for you, and it's the Rite of Inner Alchemy. So you can write this stuff down and have it for later. Or if you check out the Temple of Light, I'll have it posted in there, which is a free group on my website. So you can go and check that out. So Rite of Inner Alchemy. You'll want a black or deep red candle. Colors are important. You're going to want to sit in stillness, and you're going to ask, what am I no longer willing to carry? Okay. Then you're going to sit there and you're going to write down what comes up. Whatever comes up, you're going to safely burn that piece of paper. If you can't burn it, you can bury it. You can also tear it up into pieces, signifying the transmutation of the energy, and then discard it in your trash. For those that don't have easy access to outside, or I wouldn't go bury it right now because it's just a full bunch of snow out there and it's freezing. So the other thing you're going to say at the very end of it is you're going to say, I transmute through divine law. Nothing remains that does not serve love. Okay. And then close your practice. So that's your suggested practice for the Rite of Inner Alchemy. So what do you feel about the energies of today? The energy of today is that we see what our soul has been trying to tell us. Tomorrow, with the energy that we're moving, right? We go from the 18th, and then on the 19th, we have that new moon energy. And then on the 21st, we step into solstice. So every 2 days forward, we have some really big energy that we're going to be celebrating. So today is the energy that we see what our soul has been trying to tell us. Tomorrow's energy is we release the version of ourselves that cannot walk into the new year. And I know this is not our true new year. This is the new year that we've been conditioned to accept on January 1st. But many of us, that's all we've lived is this particular thing. And so let's, we'll embrace that. You can even expand it and say, this is what we're going to be doing for the next little bit. Looking at March as being a new year. And even that's not the true new year. The true new year would be when Sirius breaks the horizon after an absence. That first moment, the new moon following that would be traditionally when they would set the very first day of the year. And then you'd have one day, you'd have all the months would be the same length, 13 months, 28 days each. And then you'd have one day out of time. And then Sirius would be popping back up on the horizon again. So it wouldn't be until like late July, August, and it's actually more mid-August now where we are with how it's moved forward. So today we become the version of ourselves we have been preparing for. That's what we're going to do on the new year, or sorry, not on the new year, on the new moon on the 19th. That's the energy, is we become the version of ourselves that we have been preparing for. On the 20th, we integrate the codes that are reorganizing our future. And then on the 21st, we step into light, truth, embodiment, and destiny. So we have a lot of powerful energies that are coming up. So it's important to look at that. How are you doing? How do you like that? So today we're moving from that transition of the moon in Libra into Scorpio, and that can be kind of emotional. It can be quite significant because it can shift the way that you relate to yourself, your truth, and your emotional field. So this live is about helping you to understand what is opening inside of you today, how to work with it, and how to use the energy for your embodiment path, because that's what we have to do. We have to take action on. We have to live it, right? Most times, you know, we'll go out and we'll gather information, and I've been that too, where I went and read self-help books, and I mean, for a while there, I actually called them shelf help because they weren't helping anybody but the shelf. They're just sitting there, right? And how many of us have a bookshelf full of, you know, improve your time management, tidy your home, I don't know, whatever things, like there's a ton of self-help book topics. Like it's just all the rage, right? But how many are just sitting on the shelf? Or how many had really great concepts, but zero practical stuff in it, right? It was just straight up, you're just learning information. You're not actually applying anything. And then how many of them had application, but you didn't apply it? You just read it, but didn't actually do the practical things. How many of the things that you learned did you actually then embody in your life? Right? It's no different than if you, say, went to a nurse practitioner and the nurse practitioner told you that I had to use a nurse practitioner because a doctor probably wouldn't talk to you about your quality of food or diet or anything like that. But let's just say that you go see a nurse practitioner and the nurse practitioner suggests that you need to reduce your caffeine intake. Let's say that's what she suggests to you because you're having heart palpitations, you're a female, you got lumpy breasts, or you've developed fibroids, which, you know, that can be, the caffeine can actually be it affects it more. It makes it worse. There we go. It aggravates it. It makes it worse. So if she tells you to do that, and if you don't listen, well, then you're not going to find any changes, right? And a lot of us do that. We'll go and we'll see the coach, we'll see the healer, we'll see whoever it is. We'll go and see them, and then we'll be like, well, I had this little burst right away because of the innate change that happens when you learn something new, and just the confidence and, you know, the shine that you have. And then you get down the road and then everything that you learned is gone, right? And I know because I've been there. I can't think of how many different time management techniques I learned throughout my life, and I don't use a single one of them in practicality right now, right? And it's, oh, okay. right? How do you expect to, if you're not using the tool, how do you expect it to change anything? Which brings me to the point of, it's all about embodiment. All about embodiment. All right, so today's skies, because this are helping us with this, because they're opening up our inner world. The sun in Ophiuchus is revealing the truth. The moon that transited from Libra into Scorpio moves you from that mental balance into deep emotional depth. Mercury in Scorpio deepens your intuition and discernment. Venus in Ophiuchus aligns your relationships to the heart, to your truth. And Mars in Sagittarius is clarifying direction and intention. This is a day for honest work, not heavy, just real. Just real. Hi, Briona. I tend to follow people when I align with them, like when their page aligns with me for some reason. I don't know what you share. I don't just follow people to have a number. All right. What does this mean for the average person? So when the moon moves from Libra to Scorpio, people often experience their clarity becoming more intense. There can be a gentle awareness that becomes that emotional truth, right? The gentle awareness being the Libra side, the emotional truth being the Scorpio side. We go from that balanced reflection, which then becomes that really deep recognition, questions that become answers, suppressed emotions that rise gently to the surface, and sudden clarity about boundaries or relationships. So this is not a sign that something is wrong. This is just your emotional intelligence waking up. And that's what we want. We want to be aware. We want to be in the driver's seat. We don't want our ego running it no more than we want our trauma brain running the show, right? And the ego is going to act on the trauma brain. It's the ego, but just, we don't want to be operating from that window anymore. That window is distorted. It's skewed. It has you looking at the world as a dangerous, dark, scary, or it has you looking for someone that's going to come along and save you. Or, you're looking at yourself and you're seeing yourself as flawed inherently. And you've got this wrong with you or that wrong with you, or you've got guilt or shame that you need to deal with. These are powerful emotions that do a lot of harm to your life. They keep you out of alignment and they keep you circling in patterns that do not help you, because your ego, remember, is driving, looking out the rear window. Right? It's driving, looking out the road you just came down to predict what's going to happen. So your ego says, last time that I spoke, I forgot what I was going to say, and people snickered, and I got embarrassed. So that means next time when I go to speak, people are going to laugh at me, and I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'm going to forget what I'm going to say, and we're looking and predicting the future from the past. That's what the ego does. And the ego does it to keep you safe. But the problem is that it's not keeping you safe. It's keeping you small. It's keeping you trapped. It's keeping you cycling in the pattern, right? You need to step into the driver's seat, right? You need to take control of your life. When we shift everything in our life off of our shoulders, and that goes with responsibility, accountability, When it goes to someone else is going to take care of it, someone else is going to do it, someone else, or this person's going to save me, or that person's going to save me, the government's going to save me, religion's going to save me, the second coming of Yeshua is going to save me, whatever it is, surgery is going to save me, a pill is going to save me, an injection is going to save me, drugs are going to save me, porn's going to, whatever it is that's outside of you is just there to take you away from who you truly are and out of alignment. And when you're not in alignment, the things don't come to you with ease that are meant to come with you. And you're in a constant cycle of something. The cycle is yours. Wherever your patterns are that you don't like. If every day of yours is the same, then that means that you're having no growth. Right? Then you should not be. Hi, Sha'Ryah. My niece's name is Sha'Ryah. It's totally changed. Sha'Ryah. So we've got all of these clarity that are coming in, right? Because we need to be in embodiment. The difference between awareness and transformation, right? There's a big difference between that. Awareness is when you notice a pattern. Transformation is when you respond to it differently. So if every time this one thing happens to me, I flip a table and smash everything on it, right? That pattern is coming up for me to address so that I stop flipping tables. Transformation isn't just noticing that every time that I flip a table. What is the transformation is when somebody does that and I don't flip the table. Maybe I just grab it. Maybe just hold on to it for a second. Maybe I breathe. Maybe I've reached in and felt what it was and dealt with it, and it's not that, right? Awareness is mental. Transformation is embodied. Awareness is saying, I see it. Transformation says, I'm changing it. Okay, so there's a big difference between those two things. So a lot of what I teach, or how I like to categorize what I teach, I classify it as the Krystic way. And the Krystic way is the path of coherence. It teaches you to stay aligned when emotional waves rise, to communicate from truth instead of fear, to hold yourself steady even when others are wobbling, to recognize projections from other people and not take them on, to make decisions from clarity, not reaction. How many times I've done that? Oh my goodness. One of the best things you can do is learn to manage your emotions like an adult. It's interesting when you go through trauma, because as you experience trauma, you are oftentimes, you become an adult who is emotionally immature. And that's because you didn't get taught how to manage your emotions. Oftentimes you were left to cry in a corner, told to shut up or you'll get something else to cry about. Got punished in some other way, or just completely ignored, and were left to try to figure out how to soothe or cope. And so many of us became adults that were very immature emotionally. And so when we react, we're reacting like a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, whatever age you were when that pain got installed. That's the age you become, and that's how you're reacting. You're reacting from that age. So think about how many, somebody flipping a table, like you think about someone that's 3 years old, right? They're knock over their play table. That's what you're doing. You're just being that 3-year-old and just doing it instead of being the adult who says, yeah, I'm going to smash my monitor and my computer, and I'm going to have to replace all these things. And really, why is it causing me to react in that way? What is it about this that I need to address? So that's the opportunity for you to look inside and recognize sometimes, that those reactions are completely over the limit, that's your first cue to do something about it, is when you're like, yeah, that was a bit much. That was a bit much. Why did I snap there? Why did I do that? Right? I used to more implode than explode. I was somebody that would more hurt myself, and oftentimes with language, sometimes physically. I would punch myself or do other things, and that was just, I would punch my legs, or I would hit my hands off of the table, because I didn't know how to come to terms with all that emotion that was in me, because nobody taught me how to do that. So it would just boil over. I wouldn't want to hurt somebody else. So I wasn't, I didn't want to hurt anybody. So I would just why? I should have just done it to the air, but it didn't. And healing that was a great thing. And I'm not laughing at it or making light of it. It was a very, it was a big part of my life, and healing that was huge. So the other thing about the Krystic way is it's to trust your inner knowing, and you can't know your inner knowing if you're not connecting to your body. So if you're going through your life and you're numbing out, you're avoiding, you've got emotions that are coming up that need to come out, but you shove them back down again. You're somebody that has that type of reactionary existence. Then you're not connected to that. I used to say, and I didn't realize I was doing it, because I'm very logical about the emotions, or that's how it used to be. And I would say, I think I feel. I think I feel. One, I didn't trust my inner knowing. And the reason why is because I spent most of my time being dissociated. So I was disconnected from my body, because there was so much from all the traumas that I experienced that I just could not ground into my body. I had to heal and move through those emotions and alleviate them so that I could become more grounded into my body. And it just takes time and peeling back those layers. All you're meant to do is remember who you are, remember what you are, remember that you're worthy, you're deserving, you're not broken, you didn't come into this world inherently flawed, none of that. You are perfectly you are divine in nature, you are loved beyond measure. You are born into an inverted world, taken care of by people who had no clue, because they were taken care of by people who also didn't have a clue, and so on and so forth, because the world is clown inverted hijack world, right? And so some people did really bad jobs, and some people tried their best and did bad jobs, and some people tried their best and did okay, and some did good jobs. And that's just the parenting. That's just how it was. Society being very distorted and manipulative and, inverted, that's what's harming us as well, right? So the Krystic way is about energetic accuracy. It is about becoming the version of you who no longer fractures under emotional pressure. Right? Saying I have a new message. Hi, Debbie. So the Scorpio moon is the perfect teacher. Scorpio says, do not fear what you feel, understand it. Do not collapse into emotion, decode it. Do not suppress the truth, refine it to clarity, right? That's what we're meant to do. It's not coming up again and again and again to punish you. It's coming up again and again and again to tell you that you're not changing it, right? If you have, I've been there, a relationship that we broke up, I don't know, 6 times maybe in the relationship. Why? Why did I need 6 times? Because I was stubborn. Because I was very stubborn, right? we know the truth. We just lie. We lie to ourselves. We hide it from ourselves. We manipulate ourselves. And that's our ego. And that's, like I said, your ego wants to keep you in the familiar or in the comfort because that is deemed safe. Even if it's not safe, it's better than the unknown. So your ego's keeping you in that space, and your oversoul, your higher self, is like, let's go. Like, this is not the space for us. So you keep getting these things that hit you in the face, and it could be, oh, we're in a massive fight. Now we're not talking, and it's really uncomfortable and awkward. And we're bringing up all of those old things again. Or we broke up again, and, like it could be any of those things. It could be at your job, someone lying about you and your work ethic or whatever, and the boss is believing it, and you're getting thrown under the bus, and you're like, again, really? This again? I had to deal with being lied about again. Right? If you're dealing with patterns like that, it's telling you that's not the space for you. Move. Do something. Okay, so we're going to do an embodiment practice, because I do all my teachings, every class, everything I have, I always give you something practical. So one on your heart, one on your heart, and one on your abdomen. Now, if you go above the navel, you're around the solar plexus. If you go below the navel, you're in the sacral. I'll let you choose which one you want to connect with. But I'm putting mine on my sacral and on my heart. So we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to take a couple of deep breaths just to connect to your heart, to allow your mind to silence. Okay, so in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time, and really sink into that space that comes up when you let out your air nice and slow. In through the mouth, or in through the nose, sorry. And out nice and slow. Just drop your awareness to the space just behind your heart. Now you're going to ask yourself, where am I feeling something today that wants my attention? Is this sensation familiar? Is this emotion trying to protect me? What truth wants to be acknowledged? Now take a deep breath. Release it. Now whisper. I allow myself to feel without losing myself. I can hold truth without collapsing. I remain coherent. Does anyone feel brave enough to share if they did the practical with me? Do you feel brave to share? So because of the Scorpio moon and Venus in Ophiuchus, you may notice that there is truth rising in your relationships. There is sudden clarity around boundaries. There's deeper awareness of your needs, more honest conversations, and old emotional wounds that are resurfacing gently. Do not rush this. Scorpio does not expose the truth to punish you. It reveals the truth to liberate you. So today is a day for powerful emotional alchemy, intuitive clarity, and truth embodiment. The sky is not asking you to change everything. It's just asking you to listen to yourself, to your truth, to your heart, to your body, to your knowing. Let today's energy guide your deeper coherence, right? Allow it to bring you into that space where you're going to look at yourself and be honest. What needs to change in your life? What are you not doing? Like, what have you been sitting on? What's a decision that you need to make that you haven't made? What's a truth you've been not acknowledging? Are you in your alignment? Are you aligned with your truth and with the truth of how you're meant to live? All right. It's interesting that we live in this, inverted, distorted space, and we get sold the concept that we're spirits having a human experience and we're meant to have that human experience. And well, what's the human experience right now? Right? The human experience right now is porn and OnlyFans, drinking energy drinks, buying, Yukon, what are they, Yeti mugs and La Boo Boo dolls or whatever the heck those things are called, as makeup and skincare, and it's hustle culture, it's celebrity, what is being human right now? That's not how we're meant to live. That's not in alignment with our truth, right? We're not meant to live in concrete jungles. We're not meant to go work some meaningless job for 2 weeks of holidays a year, right? That we get to retire at the end of our days with a pension that, if we're lucky, it will be enough to afford the cost of living at that time, right? We're not meant to live like that. We know that. Inherently, you know that too. That's not the truth, right? We used to connect with nature, right? Like, it's even crazy how much color they've even taken out of the world, right? Cars used to be all kinds of different colors. A parking lot used to be so colorful. Everything used to be colorful, but now everything's black and white and gray and brown, right? It's all neutrals. Instead of having like variety and all these, and having, beauty and uniqueness being displayed, now everything's a cookie cutter. It looks exactly the same. All the stars are, doing these weird things now. And, it's just, that's not how we're meant to live. I hope you know that. I hope you know. Hey, Deborah. So what are you doing? So the moon slipped into Scorpio, initiating a powerful field of emotional intelligence, soul truth, and inner refinement. We entered a sacred corridor where the sun in Ophiuchus and the moon in Scorpio opened a pathway to transmutation, not destruction, but divine realignment. We explored the shift from Libra's balance to Scorpio's death, Mercury in Scorpio's call to precise, honest communication. Venus in Ophiuchus urging us to purify the heart and release false love patterns. Mars in Sagittarius focusing our sacred fire into mission-aligned momentum. Our key teachings today were awareness is seeing the pattern, transformation is choosing differently, and embodiment is living from the oversoul instead of reacting from the ego. We practice emotional alchemy by looking at what is this feeling trying to protect, what truth is surfacing in my body, and where am I ready to stay present, not collapse. We spoke this affirmation out loud. I allow myself to feel without losing myself. I can hold truth without collapsing. I remain coherent. Today was not about doing more. It was about holding more with grace, with discernment, with truth. This is the Krystic way. Living as your future self, holding the fire of your presence with sovereignty. Walk gently through the shadows. They are where your medicine lives, right? They are where your medicine lives. Absolutely. All right. So let's do we're going to look at Krystic astrology and we were going to review Venus. Yesterday, we talked about what Scorpio means, what Mercury means. So now we're going to talk about Venus. Let me open my document on it though. Hi, Beans Nation. I don't know if you were able to stay, but I'm gonna search for it. Itchy nose, itchy nose. So if you're watching me, you can help by tapping on the screen. That would be really, really handy. Could be fingerly. It would be very, unfortunately, you know, people unfortunately, TikTok has an algorithm, and part of the algorithm is that they want interaction. So if you're not interacting with me, they're going to determine that I must be pretty boring. I mean, some of you have been here the whole show, so those people would at least give me some points for sticking around. but for the most part, we need interaction. All right, so let's look at true sidereal / Krystic astrology, Venus through all 13 signs. So this is the harmonic gate. It's how the soul loves, values, receives, and relates. So that's what Venus governs. It's not just this pretty little planet, right? Or this pretty little energy. So Venus reveals how the soul experiences love, value, beauty, harmony, and attraction. It governs the relationships and bonding style, your values and self-worth, pleasure, beauty, aesthetics, receiving and magnetism, and creative flow and enjoyment. So that's why I call Venus the feminine energy, right? I classify Venus to be the divine feminine energy, whereas Mars is the masculine energy. Hi, Edie. How are you? All right. So if the sun is radiance and Mercury is expression, Venus is the field of resonance. So what is the soul drawn toward and how it allows life to come closer? So we're going to look at Venus as it goes through each of the 12 gates and the 13th sign. Okay. So how love, value, and harmony express through each of the gates. Venus in Aries. If you don't know your true sidereal, go to Mastering the Zodiac and check out your true sidereal natal chart. If you don't have the time of your birth, that's okay. You just won't get your rising sign and to give you the exact degrees of alignment between things. It wouldn't be exact. The best that you could do is look at like what was the angle between the things at the beginning of the day, and then what was the angle between two at the end of the day, and do an average, right? Or if there was not much movement or not much change in the degree at all, then there you go. So Venus, and so you in getting your rising sign, if you don't have the time of birth, you could spend time reading the rising signs and determining which one sounds the most like you, or having your friends look at them too and help you by saying, no, this one seems more like you. So Venus in Aries loves boldly and directly, values passion, honesty, and intimacy, or immediacy. Sorry, immediacy. I read it wrong. All right. Values passion, honesty, and immediacy, drawn to excitement and courageous expression, needs independence and spark. So if you're in a relationship with somebody who has Venus in Aries, they're going to want that stimulation, right? That newness, that spark. And they're also going to want to be very independent. So it's interesting because, I mean, if you think of, most times we just categorize it as a sun sign, right? We say anyone that's born in Sagittarius, that person that's Sagittarius is so freedom loving. You can't tag them. You can't, you can't lock them down, which is not true. Sagittarius just has no time for lies or games. And so they will move on because they won't stay where it's not, where there's the authenticity is missing. We'll look at what it says about Sagittarius more closely. But we're not looking at the big thing is that's what mainstream astrology says. That's not accuracy, right? But that's the way that mainstream astrology captures Sagittarius, and we apply that to the whole person as a personality. When we're looking at it this way, we're not doing it as a personality thing. This is allowing you to look at it and go, okay, my Venus is, and I'll talk about that one, my Venus is an Ophiuchus. When you look at how that shows up or how that's represented, it gives you a lot more insight into how to align for yourself. And, it gives you quite a bit of understanding into your relationship dynamics and also pairings, right? Like it would be obvious, some of them that would not go well together. So Venus in Taurus loves steadily and sensually, values loyalty, comfort, and physical presence, drawn to beauty, touch, and stability, needs consistency and stability. So if you took someone that has Venus in Taurus and you took someone with Venus in Aries, this one's wanting stimulation and newness, and this one's wanting consistency and stability. They're probably going to clash quite a bit in the way that they show up in relationship. Venus in Gemini loves through conversation and curiosity, values mental stimulation and variety, drawn to wit, playfulness, and ideas, needs communication and freedom. Venus in Cancer loves protectively and deeply, values emotional safety and belonging, helps to read the whole word, values emotional safety and belonging, drawn to nurturing bonds and shared memory, needs reassurance and care. Venus in Leo loves generously and expressively, values loyalty, admiration, and heart-centered connection, drawn to warmth, creativity, and celebration, needs appreciation and joy. Venus in Virgo. Now remember, Virgo, I think, is one of the ones, Gemini gets a lot of flack in mainstream astrology as being two-faced. Venus gets a lot of criticism for being very highly critical, perfectionism, like serve, clean. Like they get all these like very critical kind of energy put on it. So Venus in Virgo, though, loves through service and attentiveness, values sincerity, usefulness, and integrity, drawn to refinement and mutual growth. Because remember, it's refinement, it's not perfectionism. needs trust and practical devotion, right? It's an earth sign. Venus in Libra loves harmoniously and relationally, values balance, beauty, and fairness, harmony. Drawn to partnership and elegance, needs reciprocity and peace. Venus in Scorpio. So Venus also governs Libra, like it's the home planet of Libra. That's why the energy seems very much similar to what we're talking about with Libra. Venus in Scorpio loves intensely and exclusively, values truth, loyalty, and emotional depth, drawn to transformation and soul bonding, needs honesty and trust. Venus in Ophiuchus loves alchemically and consciously, values healing, authenticity, and soul remembrance, drawn to a transformative union and sacred intimacy, needs freedom to evolve. I can say that 100% is accurate. It's absolutely accurate. I think that relationships are the best place for you to heal and evolve. And so if you're in a relationship, if I'm in a relationship with you, I want us to be in a relationship where we are both interested in growing and evolving and healing, or, whatever stage of growth that we're at. So I want that transformative relationship, and it is sacred. To me, a relationship is very sacred. It's sacred union. And so it's very much, it aligns with my Venus in Ophiuchus. Venus in Sagittarius loves expansively and adventurously, values truth, freedom, and shared vision, drawn to exploration and growth, needs space and inspiration. Venus in Capricorn loves with commitment and purpose, values loyalty, maturity, and long-term bonds, drawn to stability and shared goals, needs respect and reliability. Remember, Capricorn's like big daddy energy, and Cancer is big mom energy. So that comes up there, that respect, right? Think about the dad wanting that respect and to rely on you. Venus in Aquarius loves unconventionally and inclusively, values individuality, friendship, and equality, drawn to originality and shared ideals, needs freedom and authenticity. You can see how some of these would match, right? When you're listening to the difference between them, that there are some that really do match well. Venus in Pisces loves compassionately and unconditionally, values spiritual connection and empathy, drawn to art, mysticism, and soulful union, needs gentleness and clear boundaries. Because Pisces is prone to codependency. It's not a negative feature of that. It's just that Pisces being as watery and mystical as they are, and that, the boundaries just kind of wash away a little bit. So there has to be firm boundaries and in place there. So Venus shows how someone loves, receives, and experiences harmony. It governs your attraction patterns and self-worth. If you look at Venus plus your moon, it reveals your emotional bonding needs. Venus plus the sun shows how love fuels identity. And Venus plus rising shows how affection and beauty are expressed outwardly. Okay, so that's your little information on Venus, the harmonic self, and how it represents love and relational resonance, value and worthiness, beauty, pleasure and enjoyment, magnetism and receptivity, and creative flow. And that's that. So what was your best part about today? What did you like that you learned today, if you don't mind sharing? Have you looked into your chart under true sidereal yet? Have you looked into that, or are you still someone who's following mainstream or traditional astrology? Do you do moon ceremonies? Do you consider the planets, the celestial alignments, and how they could be impacting your day? Or do you only consider it if it's like a full moon or a new moon, and that's when you consider that they may have an effect on you? Lots of questions. It's okay. Everybody's just quiet. That's all right. Alrighty, well, January 9th, I am beginning the Bridge to Light phase 2, which is all about embodiment, living as your truth. So if you're ready to stop playing and start like doing, then that course is the course for you, right? If you're sick of seeing the patterns come up and you wonder why, well, I did that course, or I learned this, or I had that healing, or I went to this person or that person, and it worked for a little while, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm back to doing the same old. I read that book, and and for a while there I was really, really organized, but then it went back to being the way that it always was, right? That's because you're missing the embodiment part. There's a part of it that's missing, whether it's your nervous system regulation, your nervous system capacity, whether it's something within your identity, right? Many people that have spiritual businesses, the number one reason why they don't receive money is because they have a martyr issue that they need to work on, or they believe that spiritual people shouldn't receive money for what they do because that is what has been seeded into society, right? Some people have even come at me as to why I think that I should be able to charge for anything that I do. And by the way, thank you so much, Magic Marker. Welcome. Thank you so much for the gift. I appreciate you. I'll give you a little heart. So I lost my train of thought. That's why I didn't stop, to be fair, because if I stop for something, I'm what people have called a direct channel. I don't get into state and then connect with some deity or some god and channel them through. I just channel directly. Aw. We're in that in between right now. We're in that between. We know that the society, or the way that we're meant to live, right? You know that you weren't born into a society where you actually have to get an education, get a job, make money, or else you die, right? That should not be this. That's not the way that we're meant to live. Right? There should not be a homeless epidemic. There should not be people starving. The world is abundant. There is food everywhere. But because people want money for everything, right? Because they've created this environment. So even though there are those of us, we're waking up waves and waves and waves and more as all this information comes up, right? Look what's happening in Nepal. Look what's happening in Bulgaria. Look what's happening in Italy. Look what's happening all over these places where the citizens are standing up and saying, that's enough of that. Right? We're seeing movements by people where people are getting together and building their own communities, where they come together with property and they work the land together, and everybody takes, and you just live. You live. There's so many things that are going on. In my company, I teach what I call the truth of the truth. I seek out the truth beyond, like, of how we're meant to live, the truth of Yeshua's story, the truth, like the way that we are meant to live. I teach the Krystic way. And and it's not religious. This has nothing to do with religion. I just teach the Krystic way. So the way outside of religion, dogma, government, like all of that stuff. Like, let's go back to looking at, what is the truth? Instead of getting synthetic stuff, that's based off of the real plant. Why don't we'll use the real plant. Most of our stuff would be fixed if we just remove the toxins out of our life. And there's a lot of them between the air, the water, the food, the EMF, microwaves, radiation, all of that stuff that's going on. Yeah. So we just need to minimize those things as much as possible and reduce them where we can. Taking one step at a time to get yourself as removed from those particular things as possible. So the first thing you should do is eliminate takeout, right? Like McDonald's and Burger Kings and those really fast foods. Look at the groceries that you're buying, all the preservative foods, the foods that aren't really foods, that have never seen the light of day. Nothing in the box has ever seen outside. Those are the other things that you should limit. So anything that's highly, contains a lot of preservatives, contains a lot of dyes, contains a lot of words you can't pronounce. Those are the things that need to be removed at the first, right? Hello, love. How are you? So that's what we're looking at right now. Thanks, Miranda. Hello. Say hello. What channel are you watching on? I'm doing fantastic. I started up a nonprofit. I moved across the country to operate it in person. And so I have a nonprofit called Hugs for Homeless, where we put together backpacks through donations of wonderful people. We put together backpacks and distribute them to the homeless and community that contain essential needs. Yep, I'm in Alberta now. I moved to Alberta the beginning of November, so just over a month now. We managed to partner with a wholesale bulk supplier, like a global wholesale bulk supplier, which is going to help us get more out there. Your dollar will go even further. And we also partnered with an organization called Kits for a Cause, which is also owned by the other company, the wholesaler group. I just have to send my son. I'll call you back. Son was calling me. It was his birthday yesterday. So I did talk to him yesterday, and I did want to talk to him today anyway. I wanted to see how his day went, because I talked to him in the morning and not in the evening. So Kit for a Cause is a part of the organization Bargains Group, which is the wholesale supplier, bulk supplier that we have. And what they do is they have a way for corporations or groups to do team building activities. So let's say you had a big company and you wanted to do you were, say, Toyota. I don't know, it's the first thing that came to mind. You own Toyota and you want to do a team building activity, and the Toyota that you own happens to be in Edmonton. You could work with Kits for a Cause, like Hugs for Homeless, Kits for Cause, and you tell them what your budget is, and they work with you to get the supplies that we have as our wish list for distribution. The company receives all of the supplies. They work together with their employees to put the backpacks together. So you get that feeling like you've really contributed, because there's a practical part of it. And then they get shipped to us, the bags, when they're done being packed by whatever company. And we do a talk to the company as well, to talk to them about who we are and what Hugs is and our mission and, what we're doing. And if we want, we can be there and be present while they're doing it. And sometimes maybe we will. But so yeah, it was those two collaborations are just fantastic. She has another charity that she runs called Engage and Change, and that's Jody Steinhauer. And she has, the other charity that she has is Engage and Change, which is the same concept as Hugs for Homeless, except for she picks the third Monday, I believe it is, the third Monday in January. And so the whole time they're building for that one event. And in that one event, they might put together like 45 they might put together like hundreds of backpacks, hundreds and hundreds, and get them out into communities. So that's a huge thing. But they do it as a 1-day thing, whereas with hugs we're year round, just getting the supplies and getting them out into community. So yeah, every dollar helps, and I'm very, very excited about the collaborations and the future of hugs. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, hopefully we're not needed forever, right? Hopefully, because if we're needed forever, that means we still have a homelessness or an unhoused issue, right? And that's something that we should be able to address. New Earth, right? Right? That's like, and that's how we know we're not meant to live like this. Why are there several people out there that have more wealth than they could spend in many, 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 many lifetimes, while other people are starving, while other people are freezing in the cold? They don't have a home. Like, that's not the way we're meant to live. Yep. That's the inverted world. So every single one of us that remembers and that embodies our truth, right? And that's what you have to do. You have to decide, did I come here with a purpose? And if I came here with a purpose, what am I waiting for? Because the longer that I delay means the longer that I'm not in my alignment, which means the longer I'm not broadcasting the frequency that I'm meant to broadcast to cause the awakening of everything around me. Because you don't just affect the people in your area, you affect the earth. So the more in alignment that you are, the more that you're helping everything, including Mother Gaia. And this is important stuff. That's why I have the Guardian Pathway and the Krystic Mastery Circle. And a lot of times in those groups, we'll do like planetary grid work or whatever. In this next Monday, I have a class that I'm teaching for the Guardian Pathway. It's open to everybody under the events tab. It's a Zoom meeting. The class is on distortion lines. So this is an opportunity for you to learn how to track distortion lines and in real time, and then identify, interpret, and dissolve them. There we go. Without force or fear. So it's just being aware of what's going on in your environment. So it's a really powerful course. And then the next Monday on the 29th, I have for the Krystic Mastery Circle. So both of these are around $22 Canadian. Probably, well, just say $25 Canadian. It's $22 Canadian plus, I think there's whatever, I don't know. There might be taxes, there might be fees, I don't know. But anyway, we'll just say 25 at most. So this one is Divine Law of Embodied Authority. So this is how mastery speaks through you. And that will be next Monday. And that's $22.22. Now, if you become a Krystic Mastery Circle member, you get the Krystic Mastery Circle, the Guardian Pathway, and the Ascension Gateway. And that means you get both of these classes for free as a part of your membership. If you're in the Guardian Pathway, you get the Guardian line, the distortion lines one. You don't get the Divine Law of Embodiment because it's the lower tier. I have to see. I could feel it sneaking up on me. All right. And that's how it works. In January, I have 2 more classes. Like every month you get a new class or activation and stuff like that, plus other stuff that you get throughout the month. You typically get one good, like big content piece per week, plus little smaller pieces throughout the week. In January, I got to close this one because I don't have my January notes completely open. Give me 1 second. Okay. No, that wasn't far enough. It wasn't far enough up in my notes. Okay. I was like, where did my notes go on January? I was getting kind of concerned. Okay, so in January, the lesson that we're doing is energetic boundary architecture for the new year. That's for the guardian pathway. For the Krystic Mastery Circle, I have a very special 3-day education session that I'm doing, and they won't be 3 days back to back. The first day, and then there's going to be about a 4 to 5 day window after that first day before we do the second day, and then we'll do the third day. So it's not like they're going to be all together. I need to preface with that. But in January, we're going to be doing the beautiful Krystic Mastery, the Krystic Wealth Activation, Krystic Wealth Activation. And this is a 3-day series. So in January, even though typically the education that I offer to the public that isn't a part of those membership groups, I offer at $22.22, which is the membership cost for the Guardian Pathway. So you can choose to pick the membership and or just take the class. In January, because this is a 3-day education series, it will be $44.44, which is the cost of the Krystic Mastery Circle. So you have the option of purchasing a membership for the month and getting everything that the membership has. Or if you don't want to be in a membership and get stuck in where you're paying, like a repeated fee, then you can just take the big education piece from it. And you get documents and stuff like that with it as well. So those are the upcoming offers that I have. On the 21st, 2 new books come out, Tiana and the Phoenix Who Refused to Burn, which is a story about how you have to sometimes be willing to just throw out the mold and just be exactly who you are and embrace your authenticity. And so there's that. And then there's also Luminous Soul series, book number 6, which is Infinite Wonders. The Universe Has No End. So this is opening up children and adults alike to the concepts about the universe having no end, and that you are a part of the universe. So these are great books that I'm looking forward to having out. I'm glad I got them done, because with adding Hugs for Homeless onto my plate, I've been like balancing, trying to get everything done and not, so between classes and everything, it was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to get my book published in time. But I did. They are both up for publish. They are both in the system, and will both be available on the 21st or 22nd, depending on like exactly when it does publish. And then they'll be on the website available as an ebook at that point. I do try to put all of my books on the website so that they're available as an ebook. There is one special book that's on there that's not available through Amazon, and that is the Divergence Code. And it's all about neurodivergence, and it has a lot of practical exercises that you can use, and it just really gives you understanding into the truth of neurodivergence. So that's available on the website as an ebook. It's not available through Amazon, but everything else for the most part is, unless it's like my mini classes, they're not on Amazon. I have 19 books that'll be published when these 2 books get published. They're 18 and 19, which is pretty fascinating. I got a message from Instagram saying I had 500 posts on Instagram now, and I should celebrate that. It's like, yeah. So I've had a few celebrations or anniversaries or things that have occurred where I've met certain metrics, I guess, if you want to call it that. All right, so I'm going to head off. We are still actually the snow seemed to taper off. I don't know if I want to go out there because, it was minus 40 just about. Even though the snow it's still, I don't know, it's slowed down, but we're going to get more snow. That was just phase 1. We're getting quite a bit of it. So if you're looking for anything, go check out the website. I love you guys. If you're, like I said, if you're looking for anything, do keep in mind that my site operates on sacred reciprocity. So if there's something that you want or like, and you are not at the spot where you can pay full price, at least have a conversation with me and see what we can come up with. Yeah, I operate under sacred reciprocity. It's more about the energy exchange being fair than it is about actual dollars and cents necessarily. Okay, so talk to me about that, and we'll see what we can do. I love you. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow for our live. Again, I'm live around 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and I'll show up when I show up after that. That's where I have that little bit of flow. I try to show up at 1, but sometimes it's like closer to 2. And if I'm doing any running around, well, then who knows? But I do try to come on around 1. Maybe I can work on that and become a little more consistent and always at 1. But anyway, love you guys. Have a beautiful afternoon, and thank you for hanging out with me and all the likes and the gifts and everything that you guys did to participate. And I will see you guys tomorrow around 1 Mountain Time. Mwah. Love you. Have a beautiful evening.